In today's video, I'm gonna get into what I call the sexual Sahara Desert. And this is the period of time after your wife gives birth when she doesn't want to have sex. And this is like a really stressful time for a lot of relationships because guys don't know what to do. Because every single man who's ever had a baby with a woman has experienced this to some degree, but it's weird because nobody seems to talk about it. So if you want to not only get through this period of time, but thrive, then let's get into it. Welcome back, my name is Andrew Love, and here at Whole Goals, it is my job to help you gain freedom in your mind, heart, body, and soul so that you can create a harmonious life that is thriving. And in this situation, I'm talking about sex. This is a very personal topic. I've been through the ringer on this one because I have had 3 kids, and the first one, I was fumbling around like a fool. Second one, I was put on the fire and I had to figure it out. So that by the 3rd kid, I was a champ and I could really enjoy my time, this period of time, which is very trying. It's not easy, but it's very rewarding. But only if you do it the right way, okay? And we're gonna get into some details how you can do that today. So in the beginning of a relationship, it's really called the honeymoon phase because you're just so into each other and the whole rest of the world fades away. This is a really good bonding time. Ideally, you're bonding in mind and heart and spirit and eventually in body. And you know, like you can just kind of make love whenever you want. Anywhere you want, anytime you want, whenever you're together. It could be spontaneous and all this. It's great. But it's hard. It's kind of jarring because when your wife gets pregnant, she obviously becomes a lot less mobile, right? She becomes a lot more rotund, robust in a certain part of her body. And that makes walking a little bit slower. Sometimes it gives her hormonal issues and she's very emotional. Sometimes they get these weird hunger cravings. My wife never really experienced that. There's all sorts of different things that happen to a woman's body as it's giving life to a new human inside of it. It's coming from the bones and it's just like formulating this life from 1 cell to trillions, okay? And so this is a very difficult process on her. So it kind of begins during pregnancy. You can tell that it's not business as usual. There's like, she's going through stuff and you gotta really protect her in that time because if you're just trying to be selfish and say, I have my needs, but you're not thinking about her, this is the beginning of a very bad pattern. You have no idea as a man what it's like to go through pregnancy. You just don't. There's no way, there's no precedent for understanding such a thing as to, you know, like creating a life inside your belly. I know we've all had big poops. I hear it's nothing like that. I've proposed that theory and I've been shot down by many a woman. It's nothing like that. So we have no context. So if you want to be empathetic, I would assume that you do. If you want to be in a relationship for a long time, then it's good to kind of test the waters and have good conversations about, I have my needs, here's where I'm at, I want to be sensitive to your needs, but also just know that I have needs. And there's a negotiation there. There's things that you can work out, but it's a conversation instead of just, I need my sex. And good luck with that. Good luck. That will destroy the trust and the connection, the intimacy that you have because it's very one-sided sex. You're not thinking about the other person. So it really starts during pregnancy, but it ramps up like crazy after the woman has a baby. You see, there's all this postpartum stuff, and not every woman gets it, and sometimes women get it, but not with every child that they have. See, our first kid, my wife had nothing. Second kid, she had a ton of postpartum stuff. I'm gonna get into that later in the video. But again, the best strategy is to think about her and her needs. This is a very good long-term strategy. See, most people who are very short-sighted and limited in their viewpoint and their ability to empathize just think that sex is about them. My body needs sex. I need sex now. Give me sex. You give me sex now. And it's very primitive. Like that's how animals operate. The fact that we're sentient beings means that we're meant to factor in other people's thoughts, emotions, and their whole the essence of that person. Because if you're having sex with somebody and you don't care about them, then it's not really sex. You're just kind of masturbating in them or around them. And that's not a good long-term strategy. That will destroy a relationship because you're not considering them. You're not even thinking about them. So what are you doing? So the first thing to really consider is the long-term strategy of what is love over the span of a lifetime. The things that really help a relationship are consideration, empathy, serving rather than taking. And so if you factor this into your sex life, then you really have to see that if my wife is struggling right now and she says she does not want to have sex, then it's really important that you take those words seriously. And the more that you force your agenda, the more that that's going to have a long-term negative impact. That's a bad investment. And there's all sorts of ways. It's like, obviously it sounds terrible that you would force yourself onto somebody, but we do that in many subtle and not so obvious ways, like coercion, like guilt tripping, like whining and complaining, like using the same tactics as a little kid who wants a candy bar. It's like, but I want to, but I haven't had one in a while. It's the same thing that they don't want to, and you're trying to force your will upon them through some sort of manipulation. Again, terrible long-term strategies. I've helped to mentor or coach people who are in their 60s and above who did that early on. What that does is it creates distrust over the long term, and they go through a lot of sexlessness later on in life because the wife is like, you hurt me and now I'm gonna hurt you. And they don't know that they're doing this, but it's happening on a deep subconscious level. So first thing, think long term. Yes, your body may be horny, but you can do something with that energy, which I'm gonna get into, and don't follow your body, like in terms of sex. Let that follow the person that you want to be, your heart, your mind, your spirit first, and then your body. Sex should always be win, win, win. Win for you, win for your wife, and win for the relationship, something that is contributing to the relationship. When there's a negative, when there's a deficit in any of those places, then sex is becoming somewhat of a negative. And over time, you scale that over a period of time, and that's going to create this association between something negative and sex. And if that happens with any person in the relationship or the relationship itself, that's going to be a giant kind of fracture that's going to splinter out and become a big deal over time and going to create distance. Sexuality is meant to be a vessel, an agent to create intimacy, which is closeness of trust in minds and hearts. And if it's creating, factions within the relationship, that's obviously the opposite. So here's something that you can do, okay? This is one way that you can really survive, and that is to turn all the sexual energy, which is very creative energy, into finding creative ways to support your wife. Every time you want sex, you have to understand that sex is always connected to some emotion. It's always connected to some association, right? One test for people who are skeptical about that, they're like, no, I'm just horny because I'm horny. Okay, well, if you're just horny because you're horny, if you got a call with some really bad news, you just lost all your money, your friend got into a car accident, all of a sudden, you're not horny anymore. That wasn't your body, it was being informed by your mind, by your spirit, by your heart, by different elements that were telling your body, it's time to go. So remember that when this feeling comes up, you can convert that energy into something that is better for a long-term investment. That means giving to your wife, giving to your newborn, spending time bonding with them in a different way. Again, doesn't give you what your body wants in the moment, but that over the course of a lifetime will give you more wonderful sex because you're showing your wife that you are to be trusted, that you care about her, and that is something that will always pay out over the long run. Now I want to get personal because again, it's like, who are you to give me these tips? Well, just to let you know, like after our second kid happened, my wife went through some crazy postpartum stuff. She became a little bit nutty, she was emotionally all over the place. Her hormones were all over the place. It was really hard to know which wife I was going to expect, and I could handle that for a while, but there's a period of time, I don't remember exactly when, I would say 1 or 2 months, where I just had enough, and I was like, listen, I have my needs too, and you're not giving me my needs, and I'm trying to help you, and I was doing this manipulation thing, as I tend to do sometimes. So she responded with, I got nothing for you right now. Like, I'm just not feeling it. And so I would just get really frustrated, and then sex became this thing in our relationship that was just so frustrating and didn't know what to do. And I just felt like she was not serving me and I was not getting what I want. I was just keeping it all in, and then I was judging her. So I was like holding all this stuff in, and then I'd release it like darts. I'd be shooting darts of hatred and judgment towards her. And it was very, very toxic. And here's what happened. It was very, very interesting. She gave me this window. She opened up a window and she said, listen, I can't do anything for you. I got nothing for you. You take care of yourself. Do what you got to do. Not with other people, but just like, yeah, you can take care of yourself. Use your hands to make love to yourself or whatever, right? And I was like, fine. Well, I just got permission. That's my way out. So then I experimented with that for a little bit, and I started masturbating, and I started, and what I realized is every time I did, I would feel further away from my wife. And here's why. Because every time I masturbated, and I would realize that she was close. She was in the same building as me, and I was masturbating to a fantasy of her, not the real her. She was over there, not feeling so great. And here I was by myself, masturbating to a fantasy, connecting to a fake version of her instead of caring about the real version of her. You see, the problem in this is that I was trying to escape my life, my reality, by plugging into a fantasy that would make me feel happy for a period of time. And when that was said and done, all of a sudden, I didn't feel so good. Why is that? It's because my soul knew deep down inside that I was not doing what I said I would when I married her, which is take care of her. Even when she's not feeling great, that I still have to step up and take care of her. And so that's when I tried this for like 2 weeks, and I was like, no, this is not for me. I'm gonna reinvest this energy in her and my kids. And I closed that valve, and I said, guess what? For a period of time, I'm just not going to be that guy. I'm not going to look for this energy to be served right now. I'm going to reformulate it, or what's called transmuting it, to something that gains over time, that gives me dividends over time. And so from that moment on, I just completely changed my viewpoint and my perspective and my feelings about sexuality with my wife. And instead of expecting anything and being around her with that kind of needy expectation, I just started to serve her. And guess what started happening? She started to feel better. She started to heal. And later, when it was around the right time, when she felt ready, then we started to make love. And it was far better than we'd ever had before, because we were in a new dimension. There was more trust. I had passed the test, the spiritual test of, can I be selfless even when my body wants me to be super selfish? So please, guys, I encourage you, this is the best long-term strategy, to always err on the side of generosity and empathy and giving, even when your body is trying to convince you otherwise, to just think about yourself and your needs. Because there's two mindsets. There's the entitlement mindset. I deserve this, you are mine, and therefore you need to give me. And you know where that gets you? That gets you into the top of the crap heap. You get to be the king of poop, and you're the king of nothing. You get to be right and be completely alone. Whereas there's the serving mindset, there's the giving mindset, there's the empathetic, loving mindset. Really, loving at the end of the day is giving, is serving, is giving the best of yourself without any expectations of return, which is the hardest thing for us to do, because it goes against the survival instincts that we have. This kind of animal side of us is always trying to dominate us, but the spiritual side, which doesn't make any logical sense in the moment, but always pays off the most in the end, which is giving for no reason other than the fact that that's what you're committed to doing. When you live like that in this period of time, when you're not getting what you could consider a basic primal need, sex, when you're not getting that, to still give without any expectation, I'm telling you, wait a few months, wait a few years, however long it takes, not to have sex, but like to get back into things, and you will reach a new plateau of sexual connection that is on a spiritual plane that you didn't even know existed. Within that kind of year, when my wife and I started to re-engage in lovemaking, I experienced all sorts of spiritual phenomena during our sex that it's hard to get into, but it was like the greatest thing ever. It's like having, like these people have these, they gotta go to South America to do ayahuasca to have these visions. I just needed to be a nice guy and love my wife, and when she was ready, make love to me, and then God gave me all that right back. I got all these visions and all that. It's like, it's the best thing ever. So, entitlement, empathetic. Which one would you rather be? Say, you, me, yeah. Or, how can I help? If you're the woman, which one would you rather be around? And so now as a general guideline, you might not want to hear this, but I'm just trying to prepare you. Women go through pregnancy. There's 3 trimesters, right? And that's about 9 months-ish. Usually, the standard delivery, it takes 9 months from conception to labor. You might want to think about the inversion of that, of are you willing to go through 3 trimesters of the Sahara Desert of sexlessness? Are you willing to go through, it doesn't mean that full sexlessness, but let's say 3 months of absolutely nothing. 3 months of just don't even think about it and just serve. The next 3 months, maybe a little cuddly wuddly, maybe a little hand here, a little whatever. And then 3 months of, at the very end of it, figure it out. I think it's a very good rule of thumb that you just prepare yourself by not needing. And if you do have that buildup of energy, find a positive outlet. Do something creative. Work out, get out into nature, calm yourself down, like hug people more. A lot of times it's just, you feel like rejected because your wife is taking such good care of the kid and not care of you. We have this natural jealous instinct. Hug friends more. Be in a healthy father-son relationship. Find like a father figure that you can hang out with. Just build so much health and support within you that you have enough to give to them, and then everything will work out. If you try to force your will on other people, you're gonna have the opposite effect. I hope this video is helpful. It came from a deep part of me, and I know that if you practice this, it's the best long-term strategy you could possibly involve yourself in. And I hope that's what you want. I hope you want healthy relationships with yourself, with your kids, with your wife. And if so, give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. If you like this video, as always, give me a thumbs up. And if you want more, subscribe and let me know. Just let me know. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you in the next video.